Hi, everybody. So I hope that you can see and hear me. Next door, someone is watching a very loud movie, and so there will be probably a little bit of noise. It might sound like I've got, James Cameron filming a movie next door, but unfortunately, that's not true. Yeah, so can you hear me, everybody? Let me know if you cannot. We'll just say that. All right. Hello, everybody. So I'm just going to run through who's here, or at least who's posting. Dial tone. Hello, the follower. Hello, Disco 1000. Hello, AJ. Hello, Jazzy Manson. Hey, Jazzy, and Valeska Rose. I like that name. Everybody, how's it going? Okay, so it says right now that there are 0 people watching this. So I guess that's a glitch with the StreamYard, because how could there be 0 if there are several people on? Thanks, Jazzy. There's several people on this. Okay, so we are doing a live stream. I might actually go ask that they turn that down because it is a little loud. But I want to introduce who we've got here. So I went with an edgy topic for tonight, and it's not that it's probably going to be any edgier than it is on other nights, honestly, because in the live streams we do get kind of off the rails sometimes. But I happen to have with me, I guess we're going to go by Jenna. You're going to go by Jenna again? Okay. So Jenna is not her real name, right? But Jenna, right? And she's using an avatar, but she has done an interview with me before. She is a BDSM practitioner, and I would say a BDSM expert. And you can go to the interview that I did with her, a couple of months ago about the Marilyn Manson accusations. And it was a really in-depth, hour-long interview. It was long, and we got into a lot of extensive, specific stuff. And she knows her stuff. It's very, very obvious. Down to you were like telling me the differences between different types of like bondage rope, and how like this material will do this and this material will do this. Anyways, so you definitely know your stuff, and I know you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, which I wish you would. And I've been kind of, begging you to. So maybe, I want to have you on for as many live streams as you want. This is your first one. But maybe if you like it, you'll start your own channel. Because I did get a lot of comments about your video, people saying that the information was so well delivered, and it was like you were teaching a class almost. And I thought that as well. So I liked that.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, this is my first live stream ever. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I like your avatar because I did choose your avatar actually, but I like it because it looks like Angelina Jolie, I think, a little bit. Not that I'm a huge Angelina Jolie fan, but it kind of looks like Laura Croftish to me. But this was what I found when I looked up BDSM, and I was looking for an avatar for you. And so anyway, people can imagine what you look like. I don't know, you don't look exactly like this, but close, right?
Yeah, somewhat close. I'm also hot,
Exactly. That's all that's important. And of course, so Celtic Iron, everyone's favorite porn star, is going to be joining later on, my friend, and he's going to be joining in an hour, and hopefully we'll have some overlap, because I know that I know you like his videos, and you've never met, so you can virtually meet. But so I can't go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I did watch his Valentine's video, so that'd be nice to kind of mention that to him.
Are you talking about the video that he entered in the porn competition?
Yeah, the one on Pornhub. I was like, maybe I should watch this. He keeps talking about it constantly.
Well, I know.
I did.
Well, I know he'll appreciate that. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff we could talk about, and I don't want to do a retread of what we talked about in the Manson video. We talked about Marilyn Manson, and we talked about the different BDSM oriented allegations that women have made against him, and we talked about all of the reasons why you felt those were illegitimate or problematic. And I don't want to rehash all that, because people can look at the video, but I just want to give people, say, one example, and then we can go from there and talk about other things. But you talked a lot about nerve damage, and how in the BDSM community it's understood, and it's like the first thing, or the main thing, that people warn other people about, is that when you are tightly bound, and then there is a significant risk of nerve damage, either short-term or long-term, and that you found it really strange and really concerning that none of these women who have accused Marilyn Manson of all of this, binding and tying up, and we're going to try not to use the words sexual assault from here on. Just say SA if you can, but if you slip,
Okay.
no problem. I'm just trying. Someone warned me that I need to be more careful with YouTube about. I don't police my language or anyone else's generally, but they warned me that like it may be better now that I'm getting a little bigger. It may
Right.
be better to curtail that to some degree when I can. So anyway, but my point is, you talked about how if Manson had done these things to them they claimed, then at least one of them, probably more, should be complaining about nerve damage, especially since they complain about everything else. So I just wanted to ask you, do you what are you know, it's been a couple of months since we've talked. What are your feelings about, I know you follow it, about the Marilyn Manson situation now and kind of where we're at? And is there anything that you want to talk about that's kind of come to you in the last couple of months since we talked?
Sure. Yeah. I think it's going in a great direction since Ashley Morgan Smith line came out, saying that the allegations she made against him are false. And I think it makes a lot of sense because, I mean, she clearly didn't have nerve damage. She clearly didn't have all these things that she had said happened. So that made a lot of sense. And I think that's really brave of her to come out. And I think we're all very supportive and happy about that. And also just like the idea, I feel like in our society, talking about SA in general is still so taboo, but talking about SA false allegations is, I think, one of the most taboo things in our culture right now to talk about because nobody wants to believe someone could lie about that, right? And so for her to say, I'm going to be strong and come out and say my truth about what actually happened and what Evan Rachel Wood put her through, I think is wonderful and I think is super brave.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe so as well. And God, Manson definitely needed he definitely needed that break. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, you had one thing that I did want to talk about a little bit. You are someone who originally, whenever Rachel Wood made these accusations, were you on her side originally, or at least you were open to that, right?
Yeah, I was on her side. I definitely thought when it first came out that she was telling the truth. I mean, because why would I think she's lying about that? Right. And then, like I had mentioned in the video, I had watched her talk in front of Congress about her allegations of SA with a former partner. And I felt like it was pretty clear she was hinting that it was Manson. And so when she finally said it was, I wasn't surprised. And I thought, we need to support her. But then, of course, little by little, things just started getting really sketchy very quickly. And especially with just like their allegations didn't make sense because they would have had certain types of injuries like nerve damage that they were not talking about at all. And that just seemed so bizarre to me. And that was really when I started looking into it more and feeling like something's not right. And then really kind of coming to the conclusion, I think that she's lying about this, which is not something that you want to believe, right? Especially if you're on that person's side and then suddenly you're like, wait a minute, they're lying about this. It was crazy to me, but it now makes sense with all of the evidence that Manson has against her, that she has been lying about this the whole time and has gone through great efforts to try to just destroy him. Um, and honestly, yeah, like he has way more evidence against her now than she has against him. I mean, she has like nothing against him. So it's just like it's been really interesting how this is all unfolding. I mean, when I first came to the realization that wow, like she's lying about this, I thought this was like stranger than fiction. Like never did I think that was going to be the case when I first heard these allegations that this was all going to be made up.
No, it's definitely taken, I mean, well, the whole thing has just been a crazy ride. That's
Yeah.
that's the way to put it. I just realized too that I don't have, like, names here, which I know you're not using your real name, but it's probably good for me
Mhm.
to put something up that tells people, um, who you are, but I'll do that in just a minute. So one thing, you mentioned that there was no evidence that had been shown by the Manson accusers, and one thing that I wanted to talk about with you, and I know that we talked about it a bit in the video that we did, but I'm I'm still like, even to this day, I'm still amazed by the photo that Esme Bianco submitted to Good Morning America and to these other news outlets, and she presented when she came forward with her allegations. So I don't know. I just, to me, it's just really astounding. Like, this is really like the only piece of evidence really that's been submitted in this whole thing. In terms of like, here's an actual photograph of what could be actual abuse, A, right? Which we're going to refer to as A from now on. And so this picture, the picture that I'm talking about, I'm going to bring it up.
Mhm.
And to me, it's just astounding. Hold on one second. I'll bring it up for the audience here. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, so as let me just say what she's presenting this to be, and then I want you to tell us, again, as a PDSM expert and someone who has seen a lot of different stuff, right? She is
Yeah.
saying that this is her back, that these are whip scars. And she claims, as you know, that Manson, he brought her to his house, kind of lured her there for what he claimed was going to be a music video shoot, a guerrilla style music video shoot. And then the last day, the last scene of filming, he gets out, takes out this whip, puts her on this prayer kneeler, right? Like has her kneel down. I think he claims that he tied her up, actually, right? And that he
Yeah.
started whipping her repeatedly with a whip, and that what we're seeing here, this is what she submitted as her evidence to the media of whip scars. Now, what do you think of this?
Yeah, first off, they're not scars because if you look closely, it appears that they are indenting into the skin, right? Those
Mm,
those little marks. Whereas all the photos that I have seen of people who have actually had really severe scarring on their back from whippings or from any kind of implement, they heal where the skin is poking out towards the body. It's convex, it's not concave. And so to me, that instantly says like that's not a scar. Like that is just like an indentation in the skin. Um, and for me, like when I would look at these, I felt like they were probably two different sized ropes because if you can see, some of them look thinner and some of them look a bit thicker, and the pattern is
mhm,
slightly different.
mhm,
And some of them are slightly lighter,
mhm,
um, and some of them look slightly fresher, like they're a little more red. And so I think
mhm.
what most likely happened in this photo, because it is kind of a weird way that the ropes are crisscrossing on her. Generally, you wouldn't necessarily always do that when tying someone up. But I think they probably had the thinner ropes on first, and then they took those off. And then those thicker indentations that look fresher to me, that look a bit more red, I think those then were put on afterwards and then taken off.
So you're saying, if I understand you correctly, and I think this is
Mhm.
what you said last time too, right?
Yeah.
And I agree that these are not whip marks. This is someone
No.
who was in some way tied up, and not tied up in a way that is excessive. Now, I think we have
Yeah.
to note here for people who don't know, this woman, Esme Bianco, she is a burlesque dancer by trade. That's what she does. But she also does a lot of kink and fetish shows. And also on Game of
Mhm.
Thrones, she was tied up. So basically, it's been a part of her profession for years, for a long time. And
Yeah.
at this time, when this photo might have been taken, to be tied up. But these are not whip marks. After you and I had that conversation, I went
Mhm.
online and I looked it up again, just to make sure. And you can go online, you can look up whip marks. I'm not going to
Yeah.
put it on here because I think it's a bit much for the audience to see, honestly. I mean, you can
Yeah.
check yourself if you want to, but it looks very different. Whip marks, someone looks like their back is actually shredded up,
Yeah.
right?
And there would be blood. Like if someone was truly had gotten to the point where they were scarred up, like
Right.
hit enough to be scarred up, like they would be bleeding. Um, and it would just look completely different. And the marks would be just very inconsistent on the back. For them to just lay across her back in such a uniform way, it would be impossible with a whip.
Yeah, I think so. I just noticed, I'm sorry, Timothy Vaughn. You said, just so everyone knows, I was misquoted in the Rolling Stone article. They interviewed me for 2 hours, and that's what they used. Dix, is that it? Are you serious? No offense, but who are you? And you were interviewed in Rolling Stone? Please tell me in the comments. Or are you joking? I just saw that. I was like, what? Lily Smith, thank you for the super chat. $10. Thank you for all your hard work. You're the best. Appreciate that. So yeah, so to me, this was early on. This was a huge red flag, and it was actually Esme Bianco's interview and this stupid back photo that really helped to convince me that she was lying, because it so obviously is not a back that's been scarred up by whip marks. And also the other
Right.
thing is the head is cut off.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going to tell me, you're going to give me as your evidence, you're going to give me a photo and I can't even tell that it's you. Like, it literally
Right.
could be anyone.
Yeah, it could be anyone. And I think also looking at the ropes, how they're placed on the back, it looks like they were kind of laid over the top of her shoulder and then kind of pulled down um, sideways, like across her back towards like her hip. So it
Mhm.
made like an X.
Mhm.
And so like that is definitely a tie that I have seen. It's not as common, but if someone is just sitting there and they want to work on shibari ties, like there's so many different ways that you could put the ties on. And then of course, if you were practicing with rope, you took it off, then you decided to do a different tie on top of that. The
Mhm.
marks are going to look weird because now you're overlaying new marks on top of the old marks, which in the video I talk about, those are just normal indentations that go away in about an hour. They're
Right.
like the same thing as if you took like a hairband or something on your wrist and then you take it off and there's that indentation.
Right, right. Yeah, no, and I think that most people who've used any kind of, like you said, like any kind of band understand that.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, like it's interesting. I think it's a universal thing, or not universal, but I think it's a very common thing among a lot of women to always have
Yeah.
the stray rubber band. I see that
Right.
so much. You know what? I see the stray rubber band around the wrist. It knows no class distinctions, because I see like the wealthiest women, like in the Daily
Mhm.
Mail, the really like ritzy celebrities, whatever, and there's
Yeah.
that black rubber band right there on the wrist.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, I have had in my life rubber bands that are too tight, not this one, but I have had them before.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you'll go for like days and you're not even aware that you're cutting off the circulation. I've gone for days before with one that's too tight, and then and then I'll notice it and I'll pull it back and there's this really deep,
Mhm.
indentation around it. Everybody knows, but that's what that kind of stuff looks like. It doesn't look like someone ripped up her back. And so,
Yeah.
you know, and I, and I don't want to belabor this point that I'm about to make, because Ashley Morgan Smithline has done the right thing now. But, a lot of us remember when she was presenting online on Instagram pictures of bite marks that turned out to
Mhm.
be, Pinterest photos.
Yeah.
And so again, and I'm glad that she stopped that, and she stood up for righteousness in this case, or the right side. But there's been a lot of shadiness in this situation, and it's starting to look like there's a lot of shadiness with the most recent evidence that Evan Rachel Wood claims
Mhm.
that she has. The supposed voicemails of Ashley Morgan Smithline that this random guy named Carl said that he heard, and yet they have not been able to actually produce those to the court. And so again, we're asked to believe, oh, we've got this evidence, but in this
Right.
case, we don't have any. They don't have any.
Right.
So
We're gonna believe all women until that woman decides to say a different narrative than what we want her to say.
exactly, exactly. I want to recognize some of the people who have come on board here. So, hello, Minnie, and I'm sorry if I forget anybody, but hello, Minnie Manson. Timothy Vaughn, I want to know if you were serious about that. And no offense, but who are you that Rolling Stone was interviewing you? And I'm sorry they only used a little bit. Jazzy, yes, Jazzy, Minnie, Eddie. Who else do we have? I think I've said hi. The Emo Kid 666. Okay, hello. I love some of these names are funny. Cynthia Smith. Hello. And JJ Hyacinth. Hello. Tony Marie Antonson. Hello. And, oh, Leslie Lane, hello, Leslie. And yeah, And Synthesia, I love that. I love that name. Lauren B. Lauren. Okay, we're all caught up. I'm not going to read everyone's name through the whole thing, but just saying hi to people who are here. So let's talk a little bit. I don't want to talk about, we'll come back to the Manson stuff perhaps, but I actually, don't want to talk about that the whole time. One thing that we did not get a chance to do much, if at all, in our interview was actually talk about sex, because you were actually there to talk about the Manson stuff and to talk about how BDSM, certain principles and dynamics in BDSM relate to those charges and allegations, whatever, right? So my question is, how did you get into the BDSM world, if I can use an awkward, clunky term like that? And like,
Yeah.
what does that even mean? It's like you go to parties and kind of like different, yeah, like different parties at each other's houses, and you put on these scenes. Am I right?
Yeah. So we generally like using the term BDSM like community.
Okay.
So that's generally when people say that, like the kink community, BDSM community, and it's definitely an overarching umbrella term. There's so many different things that can be fitted in that term. It stands for bondage, discipline, sadomasochism. But even a lot of people that are in BDSM, they might not even be into any of the bondage, discipline, sadomasochism. They could be into age play, where they're like pretending to be babies, or they're pretending to be like puppies with pup play, or they could be, yeah.
Wait, we have to stop on this puppy
Yeah.
play, because this is something that I like. Every now and then I'll see something, in the media, or someone make a joke about it, or
Yeah.
online or whatever. And of course, it's not something that, to my knowledge, I know anyone who's been involved in, but of course, how do you really know, right? But is it basically, well, okay, so it's one person pretending to be a dog and the other person is the owner? Is that basically what's going on there in that
Yeah,
dynamic?
yeah, usually it is. Sometimes they will do other animals besides pups. They
Oh,
might be kitties, they might be giraffes, they can be whatever they
right.
want usually, but yeah, I personally don't really hang in those circles because that wasn't something I was interested in, but it is definitely something that some people do. A lot of times they'll dress up in gear,
Yeah, I've seen
that'll,
that.
yeah, that'll kinda make them look more like a sexy kinky puppy. And and just play, like, they'll have, like, a playpen, and they'll just play games with each other, and it's not, and that's the thing too, a lot of people think BDSM is all sexual. That, for
No.
them, a lot of times isn't sexual. They're not having sex in their pup play outfits. It's more of they wanna be in a different headspace where
Mhm.
they're submitting, and they're just in a totally different, like, zen headspace where they can forget about the real world,
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm.
Um,
Is that why they choose dogs more? Because dogs seem like they're, like, happy all the time. So you can get, like, a happy headspace. Is that
right, yeah, and and I mean, it makes more sense too if you wanna have then, like, a DS dominant submissive relationship where, like, you have
Uh-huh.
the quote unquote "owner," right?
Uh-huh.
With a
Uh-huh.
dog, whereas with a cat, they're just like, "F you, you just feed me," you know?
So you said earlier that it's
Mhm.
not necessarily about sex, and
Yeah,
getting away from the pup thing and just more generally
yeah.
thinking about BDSM and sort of more mainstream BDSM practice, which I would
Mhm.
imagine is something like, what do you think? Well, let me ask you this. What do you think is the most mainstream BDSM practice? Would it be spanking? Is that something that a lot of people, at least to some degree or another, in their sex life, even if it's not like formal, like I'm going to spank you
Mhm.
now, but like there's a little
Right.
bit of, you know what I'm saying? Like, is
Oh,
that
yeah.
probably the most common BDSM practice?
I would say so, yeah. Impact play on your ass and thighs is definitely the most is the most common. Not
Impact.
only because, yeah, like, it's fetishized a lot. There's actually people in the community that are called spankos that, like, that is their thing. They just wanna spank people.
Spankos. Okay, okay. That sounds like
Spankos.
a good title for a movie or something, or TV
Right.
show. Spankos.
Right. But yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of people who will do that kind of impact play either with their bare hand or with different implements,
Mhm.
um, like a paddle, like a wooden paddle, or with a leather flogger. And floggers can actually feel very therapeutic on your skin. They don't necessarily always have to be painful. Um, and then also, I would say bondage has become really popular, particularly shibari. There's, for instance, where I live, there's a lot of different shibari classes
Tell
for
our
people
audience
who.
what tell our
Oh,
audience what
yeah.
shibari is.
So shibari is like a Japanese rope art form, basically where you can tie someone in very intricate patterns, and it looks quite beautiful depending on how they've tied you. And a lot of people will then incorporate that also in suspensions, which suspensions are basically they have tied you in a certain way where a rope can support your body weight, and then
Mhm.
they lift you up in the air through this rig. And usually the person who is doing the tying and pulling you up in the air is called a rigger. And a lot of times, a lot of people who are being tied, they like to be called like rope bunnies, things like that. Even though they're not trying to be bunnies. They're just like,
Do
it's a
you have
cutesy
to
name.
okay, to practice
But
shibari, do you have to have
yeah,
some kind of, like, special room, or is it just, like, you could just do it in someone's bedroom?
shibari, you can do it on the floor in your living room or on your bed. You can buy rope very cheaply that will work for shibari. So yeah, a lot of people will dabble with bondage in that regard. Also, people will dabble with bondage with cuffs. I mentioned briefly, I think, in the interview about cuffs. They have some that are either made out of leather or fabric or fake leather, and basically they just attach around your wrists, your ankles, and they you can attach them to like points on a bed if you want to keep someone immobile on the bed. And because they're taking up a larger space on your skin when they're pressing into, let's say, your wrist, there's less likely of a chance of nerve damage because that pressure is distributed evenly. Whereas with rope, it can dig into one section and
Mm,
cause nerve damage in a very particular part that it's pinching, if that makes sense.
it does make
Um,
sense. I was just thinking that sounds like a lot of work. I think I'm too lazy to do that.
yeah, I've taken some shibari classes with a former partner, and I would try tying, and I hated it. Yeah, it you need a lot of patience.
Well, and different
So
strokes for different folks. So there's always
yeah,
there's always someone who's into something, that's for
yeah.
sure. That's one thing that Celtic, who's coming on, in a little while, that's something
Mhm,
that he has said before, that there are some porn shoots that he'll be
mhm.
in where, he'll be asked to do something or participate in something or whatever, and he'll have,
Yeah.
like, at some point, he'll have a thought like, "It's really disturbing that there's a big market for this, for what we're doing right for what
Right.
we're doing right now."
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, man. I Aspat, that's an interesting name. $5. Your videos help me to explain the Manson situation, and I thank you so much for it. People need to fight for the truth and keep Preds away from me too. I agree. I do agree. So, okay, so what is how did you get into this, I guess is the question. And how do you feel about it these days? Like, how do you think about this part of your life, I guess?
Yeah, so, I realized at a pretty early age that I was kinky, that I was more drawn to things that were related to BDSM. And a lot of people that I've talked with within the community, they feel like they were quote unquote, born this way, that they are just wired to enjoy that kind of stimulation, that kind of dynamic, in the way that kink can present for people. But it wasn't really until my late teens that I really realized, like, hey, that's something I want to explore. But it wasn't really until my mid 20s that I actually took the plunge and actually started meeting people and finding partners and engaging in BDSM on a regular basis with people that knew what they were doing and that were safe. I honestly, I had been preparing and learning about the community because thankfully nowadays there's so much information online to help people who want to get into the community, just to
Mhm.
learn about it, dispel myths about it, how to get into it safely, how to do things safely. Like there are a lot of websites that talk about how to do shibari properly to avoid nerve damage, to avoid injury. And so I was like, I kind of want to get in and try this, but I was still, still hesitant. And then I was in this really horrible car accident where it was like a 4-car pileup on the freeway during rush hour, and I was the car smushed in the middle. Thankfully, I was not physically injured really at all. I just had a sore wrist and a sore lower back. But mentally, I mean, my mind was reeling. And I remember, after the accident was cleaned up and I was picked up from there and was going home. Um, I was just thinking, I could have died right now and I've never been spanked. Like, where are my priorities in life? Like, clearly they're not where they need to be right now. Like, I need to take this seriously and go after what
Oh,
I
yeah,
want.
that was your thought? Really?
Yes, it
That's
literally kept
funny.
going through my mind. It's hilarious to talk about, but I was like, seriously, like, oh my
But
God,
it's
like I've never been
interesting that that was
spanked.
yeah, it's interesting that that was such a but it's such a strong well,
Mhm.
it's interesting that that's such a strong drive for you, and also, I really appreciate I mean, I understand that you're doing it anonymously right now, but
Yeah.
regardless, I really do appreciate, though, even that people that there are people like you who are willing to talk about this, and not just people like you, I mean, there are a lot of great writers. So I was reminded this week of, and because I haven't read his stuff in a while, but I was reminded this week of the writings of the novelist Philip Roth, and
Mhm.
he's really controversial. It's considered like one of the greatest modern writers. Wrote a lot about sex, and of course now a lot of his attitudes would be considered retrograde or worse, right? But I went
Mhm.
back, and one of my favorite novels is called The Dying Animal by Philip Roth. It was made into a movie with Ben Kingsley and Penelope Cruz called Elegy, which is also really good. Um, but one of the things that he really does so well is he really unpacks the layers of meaning beneath our surface sexuality, and I think really explains or explores the degree to which these we get kind of like sexually or psychologically sort of hung up on various things. I don't mean in a bad way, but I mean we get fixated on things, and we get fixated on things because there's actually something that's more deeply meaningful there. And so I
Mhm.
guess here's my question for you is like, what do you think it is? What is it about, if you don't mind talking about it, what is it about spanking that you really love, or about BDSM now, if your practices have expanded, what you're doing now.
Yeah,
What
my
does it
my
do
practice yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
my practices definitely have expanded past spanking. I don't identify as a spanko. But, yeah, even when I was younger, like I had mentioned, like even from a young age, like quite young, like 7 years old, like I had imagined being, like, tied up, which I know probably sounds really messed up, but not in like
Wait, 7 years old, you said when you were 7, you were imagining being tied up and kind of an
Mhm.
eroticized way, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
and, again, this is where and this is something that, a lot of people can get freaked out about, is talking about the sexuality of children. And to be very
Mhm.
clear, obviously we're not talking about this in any kind of an inappropriate way, but what you're talking about is the fact that people's sexuality, it does start to get hardwired in those early years. And this is one of the things that like Freud understood when he talked about, for instance, the Oedipus complex. It wasn't the idea of like boys literally wanting to do something with their mothers, a literal incestual drive, but it was talking about how our sexuality is this very primal dynamic and system that has roots even in early childhood, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, and I was a pretty sheltered kid. So it wasn't like I was necessarily exposed to anything that would make me really
Mm,
think about that. Um,
interesting. Interesting.
so yeah, yeah. I do remember I think watching I think it was an animated film. It was more of an indie film. And I think there was a scene where someone was like this child was kidnapped and put in bondage by like these like um yeah, by these, like, goblins, and I
I
think
was
that's
thinking of
where that
Brandon.
came
It's like
from. Yeah, I think it was called, was it, like, The Princess and the Goblin or something? It was, like, an '80s animated film that was made in England, and, like, when I would think about it, I thought about that film. I have not watched it since. I kinda wanna rewatch it to see, like, where the fuck did I get all these ideas from,
where
if
did
it
it all
all
start?
came yeah, from that film or something else also, but that was one thing that I remembered. I remembered, like, trying to take, like, a nap and thinking about this stuff, and then, of course, when I got older, I then realized, that's something that I wanted to incorporate in my sexuality, I started watching like BDSM porn, and that was really what I wanted to watch. I didn't want to watch vanilla porn. That was boring to me because I liked the dynamics that were in the BDSM porn that was very raw, very animalistic, very there was a power exchange which I liked. Um, and also pain play. Like I realized, I think pretty early on that I am a sadomasochist, much more of a masochist though than a sadist, and that I liked certain types of pain.
Does that
Um,
get I'm sorry, was that
mhm.
expressed outside of a sexualized context for you? Like, just in terms of just enjoying pain outside of sex or sexuality?
For me, it was usually sexual in some capacity, whether I was conscious of it or not. I felt like it was always kind of geared more to a sexual nature. But yeah, with like the spanking, or I in BDSM, you generally tend to put different types of pain in different categories. So there is thuddy pain and stingy pain. Thuddy pain
Okay.
would be like with paddles, something that has a large surface area. So when you hit that person, it makes more of a thud
Mhm.
and it covers more surface space. And so it has more of like a deeper sensation to it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
You feel it more in your muscles and your bones in a way, like because it kind of shakes your body. Like if you have a wooden paddle and you're spanking someone with that. Whereas stingy pain is, as the name suggests, it's stingy. It's more you feel it on the surface of your skin. So whips can be stingy. Uh, there's a electroplay would be considered more along the stingy route, and that was honestly what I preferred. And most people don't prefer stingy pain. A lot of people that I speak to, they prefer thuddy pain, um, which thuddy pain is nice too. But
Hold on one second.
yeah,
Someone
yeah.
was saying that YouTube is still showing it as upcoming. Is it? Let me
Oh,
see. Which is I mean, it's fine, but let's see if no, I mean, it should yeah, it says it's live and everything. That's weird. So when you let me go to YouTube and see what it looks like here. No, it's on. I don't know, it's weird. Okay. So, um sorry. I kind of yelled at the audience there, I just realized. You said, so you said you kind of once you got into this, sort of your preferences sort of expanded, but you can look back and you can kind of trace it to even like things that you were feeling when you were young and everything, right?
yeah.
And one of the things that you said that I think is interesting is you mentioned the emphasis on power dynamics
Hmm.
in BDSM practices, and I think that I think that this is something that is really interesting even for people to think about, even for people who aren't into BDSM per se, because I feel like it is an it is an inescapable I feel like the power dynamic thing is an inescapable part of sexuality, or at least sexuality
Hmm.
the way that it is mostly expressed. And I'm not talking about like people necessarily overpowering someone else, or like like you have I know in BDSM you have like simulated
Hmm.
rape scenes, right? Or R scenes we
Yeah.
say from now on.
Hmm.
Non-consensual, right?
Yeah.
Simulated non-consent. Is that
It's called a consensual non-consent.
consensual non-consent? Okay. But I mean, I think that even outside of that, if we're just thinking about even more quote unquote vanilla sex, I think that
Mhm.
people would have to concede that sex is a violent, aggressive act. I'm not talking about violent in the sense of like all sex is rape or anything like that, right? Although that was a point that, as you probably know, one of the famous feminists of decades ago made. Was that Dworkin, Andrea Dworkin, who said that she considered all intercourse to be R?
Yeah,
It's an
I'm
interesting
not
argument.
sure. Yeah.
It's an interesting argument. But no, but I mean, I think that there's something inherently aggressive about it, if for no other reason than what you have going on existentially is you have like one person invading another person's space in some way, right? And I think that BDSM, you could view it almost as kind of an outgrowth or maybe an intensification or a kind of a playing with these dynamics that in more subtle ways kind of underlie sexuality. Does that make any sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it definitely does. because even when I talk with friends who consider themselves vanilla or fairly vanilla, they'll say, I still like having rougher sex with my husband. I like him pulling my hair or doing it, in certain positions that feel more animalistic or potentially consensually degrading in a way. And they wouldn't consider themselves kinky. But
Mm,
yet
interesting.
people might look at that and think, well, that's kind of kinky, right? Because it's not this kind of romantic, quote unquote, way of like
Mhm.
having sex where it's like missionary style and there's like candles lit and like the whole stereotype of this is what
Right, right.
romantic sex is supposed to be.
Right, which by the way, we're not putting down or anything like that in
No,
any way, we're
no.
just talking but we're talking about that's not I would imagine that's not really your bag most of the time if you're really into BDSM.
Yeah, yeah, that can be a little boring. Yeah.
Um, and by the way too, like, this is not a gendered thing either. It's not like when we're
No,
talking about the aggressiveness of sexuality that we're just talking about the aggression coming from the male side, right? And, like, that's not
no.
even something that we really even have to explain. I mean, I think everybody understands what we're talking about. And, one thing I wanted to ask you is, like, do you feel like do you feel like people are generally pretty accepting of this and understand it even when they're not in the BDSM community? Or do you face when people find out about this or you talk about it outside of that community, do you feel like there's negativity or there's judgment or people don't understand it?
Generally, the people that I have spoken with, and granted, these are people that I trust, that I know, who know me fairly well, that I've kind of come out of the closet, so to speak, talking about kink. They were always just very intrigued. They were very curious. They were like, "What is that like? Like, how is this real? Like, this is real?" And you're like, "Yeah, this is real." Um, Whereas I have encountered some people too that they just, they think it's like 50 Shades of Grey, or they
Well, tell
see
me,
the
what are the biggest
stereotype.
misconceptions while you're on the subject? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about 50 Shades of Grey? So, I've never read it. I did because it was such a huge sensation. I did make
Mhm.
myself tried to read some of it, and I found that the language not to be condescending or not to, like a condescending English professor, but I just found the writing to be so bad, and it was definitely not arousing, but it was just really bad writing, and it was so childish, and I couldn't deal with it. So then I tried when the movie came out with Dakota Fanning and, not Dakota Fanning, what's her name? Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan.
Mhm.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well, let me give this a try." And I mean, it's kinda, yeah, whatever. But do you
Yeah.
like that series? Do you think it's a good representation?
No, definitely not. A lot of people in the BDSM community refer to 50 Shades of Grey as 50 Shades of Abuse, because of the way that the main character, he's pursuing her in a way that's, he's kind of stalking her, he's kind of forcing her to do things she hasn't gotten fully consenting to everything he's doing to her.
Mhm.
So a lot of people in the community had problems with that. They felt like consent was not being expressed enough in the way it was discussed in the book or in the films.
Okay, I could see that, yeah, because I mean, I think
Mhm.
people talked about I don't even really remember the movie, but people talked about how it was kind of stalkerish.
Yeah.
It looks like people keep saying that we're not live on YouTube. I don't know because I looked at some of you are here, I know, but they're saying it's not coming up on YouTube. It's
I can
weird.
I can try it on my end real quick.
Um
No, it's
I mean, it's on. I see it on. So I don't know. People are saying it's upcoming. I'm not really sure. Well, we'll just keep going. Eventually, people will see it. All right. Um, I I was watching a documentary about a he was a really trailblazing gay porn producer, porn director in
Mhm.
the 1980s. I think that this was like in the golden age of porn, which was the late 1970s, really like the late 1970s and maybe the early 80s before VHS really got going, right? And so people
Right.
actually went and saw porn in theaters and at times in bigger theaters, like not just, the sort of sleazy, dirty, little porn theaters or whatever. You
Right.
get dirty magazines and you can go and
Mhm.
like pay like some change and go sit in there and jerk off or whatever, right? I just remember I'm jumping around a lot, but I remember the 1980 movie The Howling, which is one of my favorite horror movies because I just think the effects are really cool. It was pre-CGI, but I just love all of those werewolf transformation scenes. But anyway, but there was this sort of the subplot about this werewolf that was stalking this woman. But anyway, he asked to meet her in one of these little porn theaters in, seedy New York City.
Mhm.
And I remember it just like the most disgusting thing. But they also had like, more mainstream, like large theaters showing things like Deep Throat and stuff like that. And you go
Right.
back and you look at these movies, and of course they're not good. They're ridiculous. But I do appreciate that some effort was being made to actually pour like bigger budgets into these things and to actually produce films that like for a while, for a short period of time, men and women would actually go and sit in the theater and like watch together, right? I think it's kind of
Yeah.
cool. And so, but anyway, so there was this director, though. He was a pioneering director in gay porn, and he was making these types of movies during the golden age of porn, like 70s, early 80s. And I'm blanking
Mhm.
on his name. It's a Halstead, not Halston, but Halstead. And anyway, point is, I was watching this documentary about him, and at one point, it was talking about his philosophy about sex, and he said, I don't care about, I'm trying to remember to paraphrase. He said, I don't give a shit about coming. I'm bored with coming. I don't care about, how we show that. I don't care about the money shot or whatever, right? He's like, I'm not interested in that. He's like, I'm interested in everything surrounding that. I'm interested in exploring power dynamics. I'm interested in exploring aspects of human nature that we cannot explore in any other way, right? And so I
Yeah.
think I see a lot of that in what you've described and others described
Mhm.
about BDSM, that it's not it's not necessarily about getting violent, although it
Mm-mm,
could be
no.
exploring aggression or whatever, but it's actually about, it sounds like to me, being able to play or explore these different sides of one's being. It's more id-like in a Freudian way, getting in touch with the id in a way that really, where people are not allowed to do in any other aspect of conventional society, unless you're going to become a boxer and box in the boxing ring or something like that, like.
Yeah, I mean, for myself and for most people that I've spoken with in the community, it's really about the trust that you are
Interesting.
trusting. That
Really?
you're
Say more about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so, like, you feel comfortable enough, you trust this person enough to tie you up or to engage in, impact play or doing something that is inherently degrading or could damage your body in a certain way, even if it's, very minor, as in like, you got some bruises.
Mhm.
Um, and then coming down from that and then going into what's called aftercare. So usually the way a scene in BDSM is set up, generally you'll negotiate beforehand what you want to do in the scene and talk about what your limits are. So you have usually soft limits and hard limits. Soft limits are things that maybe you don't want to try right now, but you might be open to trying. And then hard limits are like, no, like, this is not what I want. We're not doing this in this scene. And then you would negotiate, figure out what you're doing, and then you would engage in the scene. And scenes can last, I've had scenes that last, just 20, 30 minutes, and I've had scenes that last hours. Like, I've had scenes that last 4 or 5 hours.
And
Um,
okay, so hours
mhm.
of, like, I guess, different activities, and it's not just
Yes.
hours of being spanked, is it?
No, 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 no. It'd be a lot of different things, but mostly it would be impact play or some kind of pain play, as well as some bondage, and we would take breaks. It wasn't like it was like a
Mm-mm.
marathon,
I hope so.
but not a kinky marathon. But yeah, we would do that, and then after you have done that, you would go into what's called aftercare, which is basically you've broken down the scene and you're able to connect with that person on an emotional level and just relax and kind of talk about the scene with them so that you feel like you were not abused or taken advantage of, that you're just like, I'm back to my normal self. I've gotten out of that headspace of maybe wanting to be degraded or wanting to feel a very particular way that you wouldn't want to feel in normal everyday life, and kind of come down from that high. Because a lot of people in BDSM, they might not engage in sex at all in a scene. I've
Mhm,
had many scenes where, like, there is no sex involved. The
mhm,
person might not be naked at all.
mhm.
Um, but they're getting high off the endorphins of the pain. So the pain will eventually really create a very intense high, depending on how intense the impact play is, and on the person. And also within the scene, just like the idea of having that power exchange, that someone is coming in and dominating you in a way that you have consented to. So you're still in control,
Mhm.
but you're allowing that person to explore that potentially id part, like you said, that they want to explore and that you also want to explore with them. And then also within a scene, you are, and this would be discussed during negotiations, if you wanted to have safe words, which generally everyone should have safe words. And basically, what a safe word is basically something to tell the person that you're like, hey, like, we need to stop right now. The scene has gone too far, or I'm not comfortable doing something. We need to stop, or we need to slow down. And so for a lot of people in the community, they'll use what's called a stoplight system. So
Mhm.
they'll use green, yellow, red. And so green will be, I'm doing good. Everything's good. We can continue. If someone's checking in with their partner. Yellow usually means, and I've said yellow many times, most people will yellow at some point in a scene. And basically that means, hey, like, we need to take a minute. This rope is too tight, or you hit me too hard, or you hit me in the wrong place by accident. Like, let's say you're trying to hit like in the middle of your butt, which when you're spanking someone, you want to hit them in the middle of the butt or lower, kind of where the upper thighs. That's like the best place to hit them and the safest place to hit them. You don't want to hit them on the upper cheeks closer to the tailbone and where the kidneys are, because that could actually hurt someone. So, I would be doing a scene with someone, yeah, and they'd accidentally hit me too high, and I'd be like, yellow, hey, like, you hit me too high. You need to, go farther down. And he's like, oh, sorry, I couldn't see, with your little mini skirt on where your ass started.
I went
So,
to I went to
yeah.
a German restaurant in Vegas several
Mhm.
years ago. It was one of those German style beer halls or whatever. I can't remember the
Mhm.
name of it. But anyway, they would take one of the wooden, paddles, and
Mhm.
they would whack you hard on the ass if you wanted. Like, I'm trying to remember why this even
Mm.
happened to me. I think someone like volunteered me for it or something, and I didn't think
Mm.
it was going to be that hard because I'm like, well, okay, in today's litigious society, they're not gonna whack me that hard. And so, they
Right.
have the thing where they have you, like, bend over the table and everyone's watching, and, it hurt. It
Yeah.
really, really hurt, and I was like, "I don't know how they can get away with that without making me, like, sign a legal waiver."
Right. Yeah.
Painful,
and
I
and
didn't like it.
and that's the thing also with scenes, is that you build up to that. So when you're starting impact play, you start out lightly and you're checking in with that person. And then as you go, it gets a little bit harder and harder and harder because the body is getting used to that.
Mhm,
And you're also building your endorphins.
mhm.
So yeah, in a scene, generally speaking, you would not just like hit someone full force right away. You got to warm them up. And so with the light system, after yellow, obviously there's red, and red would be like, hey, like the scene that you did at that beer place, like you'd be like, red, like, that's way too hard. Like, we need to stop completely. So red is usually, I want to stop the scene completely and go straight to aftercare. And aftercare is, yeah, like you're mentally and emotionally trying to kind of come down from that high, come out of the kind of scenario you had built,
Mhm.
where one person might be dramatically more powerful than the other, and kind of become back on
Kinda
equal
trying to, like,
footing.
tone down the
Yeah.
like, what's the term, like, like, when you're trying to, like, reacclimate, or like
Mhm.
when people have gone, like, deep sea really deep sea diving, like, they've gone down so deep that they have to, like, get in, one of those, like, or they have
Yeah.
to, what is the term when you, decompress,
Yeah,
that's what I meant, yeah,
decompress.
there's kinda a
Yeah.
decompression that goes on, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Mhm.
absolutely. So it'll be a mental and emotional decompression, and then a lot of times it'll also be a physical decompression. Like, you wanna get hydrated, you wanna have a snack, because chances are you're probably a little
You've just
dehydrated.
gone there a marathon.
Yeah,
That's
basically,
funny.
yeah, I mean, it really can take a lot out of you, like,
The bends, yeah, somebody said,
so
sorry.
you wanna stay hydrated.
It's like, I've got the post BDSM bends, and I need to rehydrate and decompress. Okay, well, let me ask
Yeah.
before we get Celtic on here in a little while, and, what do you say to people, and I don't mean this any offense, but what do you say to
Mhm.
people when they say that this is doing is basically facilitating a kind of a sick sexuality or a sick way of being in the world, or that there must be something wrong with you to want to do these things? I'm not saying that's my opinion,
Mhm.
no, it's not, but, like, I'm
Yeah.
sure that's a critique that you're very
Yeah.
familiar with, right? What do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's still that stigma there, and I think a lot of people that have that stigma, they first off don't know anybody in the community or don't know very many people, and they don't understand what BDSM really is, and that it's a consensual way of exploring, fantasies that you want to explore. It's all about consensual experiences with someone else that you feel comfortable with, and they a lot of people that don't know about BDSM, they think it is abuse. They don't understand that how much consent and negotiation and just being able to communicate with someone, like, people in the BDSM community, generally speaking, from the people that I've been around, tend to have really good communication skills, because you have to be able to relay what you want and what you don't want, and be able to do that effectively. And
That makes
so,
sense.
yeah, and also, yeah, just and also a lot of people, yeah, they think something's wrong with you, or they think that you're just like a messed up person in life. And a lot of people in the community are from all different walks of life. There are doctors, lawyers, teachers. There's a lot of teachers that in the community I'm in. And so there's all different types of people that have respectable jobs and that are, have a normal life outside kink, and that they can still explore kink in a safe way, and that they're not crazy or unhinged, or that they can't keep a job. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're not scary, abusive
Mhm.
people, or yeah.
Right.
Do you, how often in these communities, these social communities, how often does it happen that you actually have someone who is disturbed and someone who is
Mhm.
problematically sadistic, who is gonna take things too far or is gonna cross boundaries or whatever? Does that happen much?
It definitely can happen. Yeah, I mean, there will be people that get banned from events, whether it's at someone's house party or at a BDSM dungeon. Which dungeons generally are places that host BDSM education and BDSM parties, where you can go. You usually have like a yearly fee, or you pay per event, and you can go and explore the BDSM furniture that they have. The rooms could be different themes, and you can just kind of explore, and do scenes with a partner in a safe environment where you're not alone.
Mm,
So a lot of people, especially if they're getting to know someone, they're like, "I want a scene in public. I don't want to go to your house. I don't know you."
I see.
Um, because it does take a
Be
lot of
dangerous.
trust. And
Yeah, yeah.
there and generally, if you're at a party or at a dungeon, there will be what's called a dungeon monitor, which is basically
You
which
know
is
what I
basically
love? Let me just stop for a second, I'm
yeah.
sorry. What I love is that there's all this really kinky stuff, it's so
Mhm.
edgy and it sounds like, in various ways, you're really, like, at times, like, getting into some really I'm not saying it's dangerous, but getting into a
Mhm.
dangerous part of human nature. Again, I'm not saying that what you're doing is dangerous, but really
Yeah.
kind of getting into the sort of more id-like self, right? And what I think is so funny, what I love is that you have all of these, though, hyper, like, bureaucratic sounding terms, or, like, very, like,
Yeah.
psycho sort of babblish terms, and so,
Mhm.
like, there's the aftercare, there was the what did you just say? What did you just call it?
Oh,
Something?
dungeon monitors.
Dungeon monitors, you've used a few other terms too, and I'm like,
Mhm.
these are just very, like, very sort of, like,
The slang
jargonish,
code.
specialized terms, and but what we're
Yeah.
really talking about here is so primal, so it's interesting.
Yeah,
But,
oh, definitely. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of ways to categorize things, I think, to just kinda simplify it for people. 'Cause it is so much, but it is funny. Yeah, the names that have been chosen.
Dungeon
Um,
monitor.
yeah, dungeon monitor, basically
Is that a job
basically,
that people, aspire to? Do people wanna be a
um,
dungeon monitor?
yeah, usually people will volunteer for it, and yeah, basically, they just kinda check in on scenes, make sure people are okay, nobody is doing things that aren't consensual, basically. So just touching
I
base with
see.
people, making sure people aren't getting hurt or that people aren't taking it too far.
Right,
Um,
right.
so that's really nice. But yeah, there definitely have been people in communities where like this person has been at least accused of doing something, right? And
Mm,
that's the other kind of hazy thing, right? Is that
mhm,
they might not be a convicted predator, but if they're being accused of being a predator, a lot of times they will get banned from
mm,
parties. They will get banned from dungeons because people don't want to take the risk of potentially putting their guests in danger
mhm,
because the idea of, oh, we're such a like
mhm.
conscious consensual community where we just want people consenting to things that is such a big thing. We don't want to risk letting someone in that could jeopardize that, even if they might be falsely accused.
Well,
So,
that's interesting you bring that up because,
yeah.
I think that we spend so much time talking about how the presumption of innocence is essential
Mhm.
in our legal system and also in society, and it's kind of interesting to think of an example here. It's a small one, but an example where
Yeah.
there's actually there that where it actually is wiser to, in some ways, to violate that presumption of innocence to at least to the extent that you recognize that there's a real seriousness in inviting someone into your home or into
Mhm.
your sexualized space, for lack of a
Yeah.
better word, right? And
Mhm.
so you don't owe it to people. You don't owe anyone your sexual space or your
Right.
sexuality, or you don't owe anyone entrance into your home. And so I think that's very much of a different standard than when we're talking about, societal cancellation stuff. So that's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
So let's see. I've been looking at comments. I just as they come by, I haven't seen anyone really asking any questions, but Eddie says, "Imagine BDSM plus psychedelic therapy. There's some tricky territory." I mean, Jenna, have you ever done BDSM type stuff on psychedelics?
So actually, that's a good point that Eddie brings up. Most places will not allow any kind of substance use at all. So, like if you go to a dungeon,
People can
generally,
get out of hand, I guess, more.
yeah, I mean, they don't want you to potentially be under the influence of something and then engage in activities where you could get injured or injure someone severely and not mean to. Like A and a lot of times they are open to people 18 and up. So they
Mhm.
don't wanna serve alcohol because, obviously, if not everyone there is 21, that
Mhm.
wouldn't apply. But usually at private parties, at people's houses, they will have a bar.
Mhm.
So definitely there will be some drinking, but it is not a place where you go to, like, get drunk.
Mhm.
You might just wanna have a little drink here and there, but you're still sober enough to engage in what you're doing.
Mm.
Um, are there people that do harder drugs and do BDSM together? I'm sure there are, but generally it's not advised because you could get injured. You wanna be in a sober state of mind. Then that's generally, like, the consensus of what most people recommend.
I'm sure that's violated a lot. Like you said, I would
Yeah,
imagine,
yeah.
but at least in terms of, like, what's recommended or what goes on at
Mhm.
these some of these parties that you go to, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times they are pretty heavily enforced if they don't want people, like, bringing certain things, and it's interesting because like, BDSM parties are quite different from, like, swinger parties. Because I have attended a swinger party. I don't identify as a swinger, but at swinger parties, they generally are much looser with their rules,
Mhm.
and so the particular one I went to, they were smoking weed indoors, they were getting very, very drunk, and just having more of like a free for all, which that
Mhm.
is what I've heard from swingers that it's not as structured. Whereas
Okay.
whereas with BDSM, it is way more structured.
Maybe that's because there's so much, there's more in a way sort of at stake in that what you're
Mhm.
doing, it's a trickier high wire act, so to speak, right? I mean, if
Yeah,
you're just swinging, you're just going and, like, watching people have sex with your wife or whatever, but it's
right.
different than, like, some of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, So we have a celebrity. I just want everyone to understand we have a celebrity in the chat right now. If at least if you are in the pro Manson, the Marilyn Manson is innocent community, this is someone who has been a provocative member of the community for a while. Jenna, are you familiar with Katrina? Are you familiar with Red Russian Hurricane?
She sounds familiar, but I'm not too familiar.
Well, Russian Hurricane has been a thorn. I would say she's been a thorn in my side for the last 2 years, except she's not really interesting or significant enough to be a thorn. It's more like a tiny, like little mosquito prick every
Mm.
now and then. But I noticed that she is on the chat, and normally I just ignore her, but I'm totally befuddled by one of her questions. So I thought we could try to get to the bottom of this. So she
Sure.
says, could you also tell Amber 2.0, aka Lindsay Usage's hysterectomy? She pretended to be pregnant so many times to cover it. So yeah, I don't know why, but Red Ruski, she has a lot of conspiracy theories about Marilyn Manson's wife. So this is one that I've not heard, Katrina. I will try to get to the bottom of that for you as soon as I can. But I did enjoy the little striptease that you did the other day that you tagged me on. I'm going to try to dig that up because Katrina is really into pole dancing. You're not the only like sex expert here because Katrina is into pole dancing and she made a pole dancing video and she posted it on Instagram and she tagged me in it and she was like leaning over and showing her ass. And so I guess that she thought that I would want to see that, Katrina. So anyway, I'll try to dig that up in a minute.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you like your 10 seconds of fame, Katrina, that you have been thirsting over for 2 years trying to get me to talk about you. So congratulations. I'm talking about you. I'll try to dig up the stripper video in a moment. Sometimes Jenna, she'll also wear the Soviet uniform. And
Mm.
I think, and we'll do interpretive dances to Marilyn Manson songs while in a Soviet uniform. So, speaking of fetish, there's probably someone that would jerk off to that, I would imagine, don't you think?
Probably, yeah, yeah. I remember there was a scene at the dungeon that I have gone to where someone was dressed up as like a priest, or no, as a monk, and was getting whipped.
Oh yeah, people like the
Yeah.
the religious, the intertwining of
Mhm.
the religious themes with the sexuality.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, Katrina, now I'm about to banish you to the nether regions, but I did want to give you a little bit of acknowledgement here because you're always following me around, and so I thought I would finally say hi. But I'm about to put you in timeout. I like how it says put user in timeout. Like it's not block. It's just put them in timeout.
Right.
All right. Bye bye, Katrina. There she goes. No, seriously though, I don't know what her deal is, but for 2 years, she just comes out with the craziest stuff about me. I would be actually afraid that she might like actually do something to me one day, but she's way over in Russia, and I don't know. It's probably not an easy feat to get all the way over here. Find out where I am. Okay, well, Celtic was supposed to join us. There he is. He's down there in the corner. So we are not, before I bring you on, I'm telling you, we're going to try hard not to use the word cunt. So that's the rule for you, Celtic. I don't want to hear the C word, even though I know that the Brits and the Aussies and the Irish, they got no problem with it. For some reason, YouTube, at least here in America, does seem to have a problem with the word. What's up?
Yeah, no, it's kind of ironic. The land of free speech is so crippling in its outlook.
Yeah,
All
well,
these
somebody
Silicon
brought it up.
Valley cooks.
Somebody brought this up today or this week on Twitter. Why is it that the C word sounds so bad to American ears, but you all, in England, Ireland, Australia, like you just use it like every other word. So I don't know, somewhere between somewhere after the American Revolution, I guess something happened with that word. They used that back then.
It's just a euphemism, you know what I mean? Just like the F word or the C word, it has its eloquence when executed with the right intellect.
Well, you Irish know how to execute it a lot. I'll say that. So I don't know if you two ever met. So Jenna, this is Jenna, or that's her pseudonym, but she is a BDSM practitioner, and she has watched your stuff before. She said she likes your videos. So
Yeah. Hey, Celtic. It's nice to
How's it
meet you.
going? All
Good.
right, yeah. I just see like this red picture, and there's like a pulsing every time you talk. There's just a photo with you with like a crop or some sort of whip behind your shoulder.
Yeah, that's just the avatar I'm using right now.
Right on, cool in the game.
she might start a YouTube channel to talk about stuff to try to give well, I'm not going to mention her name, but a certain someone maybe a run for her money. I don't know. Let's just put it this way. I think that there is a certain inadequacy in the BDSM sector of the YouTube market, and I think that we could have I think that we could have more people discussing it than who's currently discussing it. Let's put it that way.
Can you get away with demonstrations on YouTube? That's what I'd like to know. Because the girls are really pushing it with like the lingerie try-ons. Yeah. I'd like to know, can you whip out like this is a cane and then this is where you hit it with a cane?
I have seen some people pull some stuff out. Like they have tied people up. Like I have seen some videos where they're doing ties and like they'll pull out implements, but they're not actually like hitting anybody. So
yeah, you can't show pain or violence. Yeah. So like if somebody's getting whipped and they're really into it, it could be all right. It's like, oh, this is awesome. Let's keep going, more of this. Give it to me, daddy, you know?
I've noticed that they can get away with a lot if they're doing ASMR videos, because I've seen a lot of ASMR videos that seem to be crossing some kind of line. At least, I mean, I don't know if you know this, Jenna, or not, but Celtic Irons, all of his YouTube channels, except for this one that he's on right now, all of them got completely shut down. In fact, your account was completely shut down for sex stuff, right?
Yeah, that wasn't too cool. That was a rough week. Yeah, 5 channels. And then like when I appealed it and I wrote them a nice letter, which I thought was quite adequate, it was very quickly, within 24 hours, I got a letter back going like, no, that's not happening.
And it was mostly, I think it was for sex stuff, because you weren't doing political or Me Too stuff on those channels. It was just you like going out on a date with another porn star and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, like I cut it before anything got racy, but it was for like I was promoting that, you know, go to porn, like you're not allowed to put porn links, okay? So the community strikes that I've now read thoroughly is like you're not allowed to put links to porn sites. But I didn't have porn. I guess one of the links was to this video where I had a competition at the time going on, and that might have been it. But other links, the main links on the profiles are to just my profile, which happens to be on Pornhub. So the 4 of the channels are 5. I think the 4 of them, are still up. One of them is removed completely, and you can't find any of the content that was on there. But 4 of them are still up, and you can get to them from my channel. But I have no way of accessing them, so I don't know how that's going to work, because maybe I don't want to keep that up there anymore. But I have no way of accessing it. But right now, it's just Chronicles of Celtic Iron, and that has 12,000 subscribers. So I'm trying to get that to 100,000. To anybody out there that's watching this, go over and subscribe to my channel right now. Thank you very much.
God bless. And if people look in the description, your link tree is there, and it has links to everything. So did you do a porn shoot today, or was that yesterday? You were doing a shoot?
Oh, God almighty. Yeah, today it's been a busy week.
Haven't you?
Yeah, I did one scene. I did a live stream for an hour on Monday. So that was from 5 till 6. And then like, cause it takes an hour to get back, 7. And then like, I go straight to bed and all that. And then Tuesday I had 2 shoots. And then Wednesday I had a shoot, and it was a 2 p.m. call time. But when I got there, the first thing they said to me was like, oh, we're not even starting to shoot your scene for another 2 hours. So it was like, all right, cool. But that 2 hours turned into 4 hours, because the female talent turned up with like these hair extensions and a hairdresser. And once she had the support of the director was like, I don't know, however long it takes to do this hair, we'll get it done.
Oh, you got held up by your hair extensions?
I mean, that was what was explained to me. All right. But, you know, to be honest, it was like it was with Vixen, the huge company, the biggest company at the moment. So I was like, you need to keep me here for 16 hours. I don't mind, baby, whatever needs to be done, you know? I was having a great time. it was in a beautiful mansion. It was owned by some rapper. It had a recording studio, a nightclub, and like a ridiculous looking pool. But yeah, so that was fun.
So tell me,
And
when you had the day that you had the 2 different shoots, what I always ask about people, he thinks it's funny. I always ask about the plot, but okay, tell me like the plot for those 2 different shoots. What's the
all
rundown?
right. All right. Well, the first one I was late to set that day, so really it was like get there with your wearing's great, paperwork, and then straight into the scene. And the scene was a studying scene. So I was sitting at the and we had to sit.
You're in the
no. Originally it was going to be a student and teacher thing, but then we decided to be that we were just going to be two kids studying while her parents were away, and she wanted to mess around. But like I had to do the best of my acting abilities, and like, oh no, your parents are going to be back in 30 minutes, and she was like, don't worry, we'll get it done in 30 minutes. We're like, oh, I don't know about this. So that was the best of my acting abilities. And then the second one was, oh shit, I can't remember her. She had blonde hair. What was it? It was some other scenario where like I had to put up an argument of like, oh no, we can't do this, you know. Yeah, and that was it. It was POV.
You were the one.
Oh, I remember what it was. It was POV. It was POV, and it was this girl, and she was really grateful for a job that she had just gotten. And so I was the boss, and I had to wear like me dress pants so that the POV shot could be like, oh, she's my personal assistant. She's very grateful for a job. I was very stressed out, and she wanted to help alleviate my stress, but I had to be like, this is inappropriate. You're too young for this kind of thing.
That scenario doesn't sound Me Too appropriate.
No, it was I thought it was very Me Too. No, it's funny you say that, because I remember thinking at the time, I was like, this is really good for women's liberation. This is like this young girl, all right, she's 18 years old. She's saying, no, I'm 18. I've been working here this whole summer. I'm making this choice. I want to do this right now. Because I'm a woman and I pay my bills and I make my money and I do what I do to get the job done. She was securing her bag, all right? It was independence. It was a testament of independence. She was sucking and thrusting the independence and liberation into existence, all right? This is America.
That sounds like a 1990s perspective, not a definitely
Celtic Iron, subscribe.
It doesn't sound like a 2023 perspective.
It sounds like something that like Tommy Pistol would do. Like some of his videos are pretty fucked up. I don't know if you've ever worked with him.
Oh yeah, no, I've met him. I don't believe I have seen him on set, so I assume I have worked. And I haven't worked directly with him, but in passing, 2 ships in the night kind of thing. But yeah, he's been doing it for like 30 years, man. Yeah. No, that was just 2 scenes for Hustler with David Crawford, and then the camera guy Judas, and then the assistant director for today was Hadley Hayes, another girl who models for Penthouse and things like that.
What I really love is, or what I think is so funny, is that sometimes he will have shoots where they don't require him to do, I'm talking about Celtic Iron here, where they don't require him to actually do anything but remain clothed and be a cucked husband. And so he will, so there's some, I've seen some of the stills, they're so hilarious so it'll be like this woman is on the bed and this big guy is railing.
Usually it's Jack. Hang on. It's not just some big guy, all right? It's like easily the top 3 best black talents out there at the minute.
Well, I was trying to keep the racial element out of it, but yes, go ahead. But he's a large man. Yes, very large man.
He's Jack Slayer, all right? His talent is no less than 15 inches. Okay, there's no coming back from that. Okay, there is no coming back from that. All right,
God.
Like unbelievable. But yeah, no, I have been in a room with that gentleman on several occasions.
You're sitting there in the porno, like you're paid, I guess, like your normal fee, but you're there and you're just making all these, like at one you're actually holding a pillow. I thought it was hilarious. You're holding a pillow and you're just like. And it's all of these like just like looking like, I guess, like looking like he's in agony. They must have told you just look like you're in agony the whole time.
I know. Well, that's again
you like looking.
acting, years and years of training. Because like that's the thing is like, because you don't give a shit. I'm delighted to be there. I'm getting paid me right. You know, I don't give a shit. What's going on? There's catering. What's going on? Yeah,
I need
bottle
to
of
try
water,
to find
lovely.
this, but I have to like figure out a way it's not too inappropriate. But it's hilarious. It is hilarious because it's just you with all these random expressions. I'll try to find it. But and what you told me about that shoot, which I can't, it's too gross to even really repeat. But let's see if I can put it euphemistically. The woman was having a lot of difficulty accommodating. Let's just put it that way. Accommodating the guy.
Oh no, wait. That was one time. I know. I thought you were about to describe a lot of backyard, backdoor action. Is that what I thought you
Yeah,
were about to
that's
go
what.
in?
Yeah, yeah. As I remember it, that was the issue.
Oh no
It
way.
sounded very
Okay,
good.
okay. So
It
this
sounded
is a
very
test.
good.
This is a testament of how many times I've actually been in a room with Jack Slayer. Yeah, no, that's right. You're talking about one time when yeah, it was
Keep it okay.
yeah, no, I'm not. I have no other way to translate it other than that. Like the train was unable to pass through the tunnel, and you know.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And it sounded very
I'll leave
good.
it like that.
That's a lot
Yeah.
of like that. You tell me stories, and I'm not trying to be down on the porn industry or whatever, because more power to people who can do it. But you tell me so many stories where I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't do that, or I couldn't do that. I mean, no offense, but I think like for the women, I'm just like, no, I just couldn't. I just like that's.
Oh
I'd
yeah,
just
well,
be
you
out.
know,
I'd be out.
that's because you're just a delicate wee flower. You know what I mean? You're protected. You're insulated. You know what I mean? I'm surprised you haven't dyed your hair blue and gone protest at the Capitol. You know, we all know you voted for Biden. Okay, for Christ. These women drive Dodge Challengers, okay? These women drive high-end sports cars that you know nothing about. They have Cartier rings and bracelets that wear their hands down, and they use these hands to point at things and say, that, I want that. And they point at waiters and they say, go fucking get me that, please, peasant. While you're hanging out there bleeding Popeye's fucking chicken, getting a 12-piece for you and your fucking mass murdering army husband, you goddamn liberal.
Oh my God. That's
Chronicles of Celtic Iron, be sure to subscribe.
Like the worst you've ever slandered me is saying that I was a Biden voter. You know what I think of when I see Biden? This is completely off subject, and this is not a political statement, anyone, so nobody get upset or whatever. But whenever I see him, I think of that leather mask that the guy in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre wears. You know, Leatherface, the leather mask, because that's what Biden. Like when I look at him, that's what I think of. It's like looking at just like some kind of zombified thing. I know he gets Botox and stuff, but like it's just not working. So
I still can't get over that we're in the middle of I'm going to try to stop using the F word, of a pandemic, and people were like, yeah, he won that election. He got the most votes in history of all people. That's, you know, it's like, no, what? Anyway, let's not get too political.
Are you saying that you doubt our electoral system? You think that
I question the integrity. Hang on. It went from 4 years of Russia, you know, it was tampered with. It had to have been Russiagate. Ukraine interfered with the election, to safest election in history. And we're going to war with Russia, helping Ukraine. Let's do it, baby. You know, it was wild.
You're right. When you're right.
Let's get back to just talking about sex. That's why I'm here.
All right, let's talk about sex, but let's more specifically talk about sexual assault. Have you heard the allegations from Gwyneth Paltrow?
No, I haven't.
Gwyneth Paltrow was on the stand yesterday in court saying that she felt at first that she was being sexually assaulted when a skier, she claims, ran into the back of her. His skis went directly between her legs. Even though she was looking up, she was in the peripheral of her vision, able to see his skis come between her legs. And then she immediately heard a grunting and felt a thrust at her backside.
I did hear the grunting part. She was like, what is this? Is this perverted?
Yeah.
Are y'all
No, it was
serious? Are y'all just messing around?
Yeah, and you know what? The worst part about it is the guy's only suing her for 300 grand. She could have shut this entire circus and show down for 300 grand. Okay, might be 350, but whatever. It was less. It was three something. 400 grand's nothing to Gwyneth Paltrow. It's ridiculous. But she decided to fight this and go to the courtroom. This guy's saying he crashed into her, or she crashed into him, and she's saying no, he crashed into me.
Here's my question with Gwyneth Paltrow is that she is supposedly the ambassador of wellness for all of us, right? Like she's supposed to be the epitome of clean living. She's trying to sell us all on like the, you know, eating right. You know, I'm sure like there's not a carb in her house. And yet when I look at her, I mean, I hate to be, but she's like got bad skin. Like she actually looks pretty, like she looks like someone who skis a lot. Let's put it that way. I guess I can believe that she's always out on the slopes because she does. She has really bad skin and she just looks, I mean, I hate to say it, but she looks kind of haggard. And so that's my overall impression. I've seen like maybe 5 minutes of her in court, but it's like every shot that I see or every picture, of course, I know she's not happy to be there, but I'm just thinking if I owned a wellness company.
She's fucking delighted to be there. She's smiling the whole time.
Oh, you think she likes being there?
Dude, she's loving it. They asked her how tall she was, and she couldn't contain her fucking grin on her face. She was like, I'm just under 5'10". It was like, bro, your license says you're 5'10". So even in that first question of like, yo, can we just get you to stick to the story, please, for Christ? But no, she keeps smiling when she's answering questions. She's genuinely, yes, this is it. It's not a good year for blonde, rich white women on the stand. Okay, but Gwyneth Paltrow is way better than Amber Heard on the stand. She's doing what Amber Heard wishes. Like Gwyneth Paltrow is going up there going, that dumb bitch doesn't know how to act. I'm going to show you how to win a fucking courtroom over. Okay, she's up there smiling the whole time, just like, yeah, believe me, you want to believe this, because let me tell you, I've seen Gwyneth Paltrow in the flesh once. Okay, she came to when U2 played the Roxy. It was all VIPs in the VIP, but Gwyneth Paltrow was there. Also, so was Kate Hudson. Never been attracted to Gwyneth Paltrow. When I saw Gwyneth Paltrow, that woman is a goddess. Okay, you saying that she's haggard or like that she skis a lot, I assume you're inferring that she actually does cocaine.
No, I mean actually she's in the sun too much.
Oh, okay, but no, dude. She's 5'10" or just under 5'10" if you want to believe her, and she's gorgeous. Gorgeous, just if there was, I don't know why she hasn't played Mother Nature in a film before. You know,
how long ago did you see Gwyneth?
I guess it would have been about 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, she always seemed, at least right now, like she seems a bit gaunt in the face. I don't know, like gaunt.
That's New York high-end fashion of the 90s. Okay, it's a look.
Well,
that is right now. Yeah, getting all your like, what is it called? Like buccal fat out of your cheeks.
But is it buccal fat? Is that how you say it?
Buccal fat. Yeah, it's buccal fat.
I just see it all the time, and I see like, and it really seems like all of a sudden, like within like in a 6-month period, all of the celebrities just lost their fat. What was that?
Sorry, I looked at a story on Instagram. I apologize.
I was hoping that someone wasn't being murdered. No, but like it's like Liam is like Liam Payne, for instance. I saw this week. I posted something that I'd seen there, and like he went from being an attractive, kind of youthful looking guy to suddenly looking like some kind of a mannequin, you know. And you've got the jaw that's now like really filled out. Zac Efron is the same way. Now he has blamed his expanding jaw. He says that this is what happened. He said that he was running through his house and sort of lost control, and he slammed his chin or his jaw into something, and that his jaw basically came off, and that after the reconstructive surgery he said that his jaw muscles just grew a lot.
Yeah, that and the fucking growth hormone that he's been taking for the last decade. All right, would you stop?
I think that I don't know why that some of them just don't admit, like, okay, I got something to, like, there's no shame in it. Like, I talk all the time about all this stuff, the interventions that I have in terms of like the lasers and the retinoids and the stem cell cream and all of that stuff. And one day I'll get Botox and fillers and whatever. So like, I think it's just kind of like silly when they try to pass off these major facial changes as, just something happened or had reconstructive jaw surgery, maybe. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, there was a meme going on of Zac Efron where he looks like Lord Farquaad from Shrek
That's about right.
in this new film he's doing where he looks jacked, but it doesn't look like it's actually his stomach muscles. It looks like they put prosthetics on there.
Well, I saw that Black
Yeah,
China
I don't know.
she's found Jesus, and apparently finding Jesus means that you get the butt fillers taken out and the face and the butt fillers and all that. I have to say though, I do appreciate her at least raising awareness about the dangers of plastic surgery because, as you two know, my mom this week, she had, not to gross everybody else out thinking about a mom having breast implants taken out, but my mom had breast implants taken out. And apparently, there's like a lot of women who get sick from that stuff, from implants, and it's not something that a lot of people know. So I don't know, maybe Black China's doing the right or doing a good thing, raising awareness about it. But yeah, I saw that she's found Jesus. She's gotten rid of the butt implants, gotten rid of the facial fillers. So I don't know.
I'm googling her right now. Black China New Look. What's up?
She shut down her multi-million-dollar OnlyFans account. That's how, at least serious, she
Wow.
wants us to think that she is about all this religion shit. She was making. Are you prepared to be sick to your stomach? She was making $3 million a year, no, a month, something insane, like $3 million a month on her
I know
OnlyFans.
girls. I know girls that make $1 million.
On their a month on their OnlyFans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just for nude pictures? Is that what people are mostly paying for?
No. Oh heavens, no.
Black China's not doing sex online though, is she?
Is she not? I know your man Tiger is. Tiger's putting up on his. Tiger's making a couple of million a month on OnlyFans as well. Tiger's got two. I know women that slept with Tiger, and he's got a packet on him, and like he puts it up on his OnlyFans. He puts it up on his OnlyFans. Did you? I didn't know he had one. Did you know he has one?
I did not know. I'm not tracking Tiger or Tyga or whatever. Tyga?
And let me tell you,
Tyga.
I've had to listen to some of his music because of the girls, that I be hanging out with. He's got some stuff. He's saying some stuff. Yeah, he's not as good as Drake. He's not as good as that boy Drake, but he's got it's taste. Oh, he's got a few little raps on him, all right. That fella, I like it. Tyga.
Did he used to date Kylie Jenner before Travis? What's his name? Did?
Sure. They all passed him around like currency. Those Kardashians, poor things.
Oh my God. I was gonna say, like, isn't that the father of her kid, or no? It's the other guy.
I think it's the Travis Scott, but she did date Tyga. Okay, yeah, she's pretty. Black China's pretty, beautiful.
Yeah, there you go.
But her OnlyFans, is it shut down?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, I thought you were looking up. Yes.
No, I wanted to see what she looked like. That's pretty cool. I wonder how much she charged.
Kardashians, she had a baby with Rob Kardashian, right? That's Rob Kardashian's baby mama. Black China.
Yeah, so now that she's gotten into Christianity and all that, does that mean she's also going to start promoting not being a single mother, or how's that play out?
Crickets on that one. Is that anti-Christian, being a single mother?
No, well, I just mean, like, what's going on? When does she start being, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, when did she start being like what? You need to like
I don't know.
Find a man.
What does she find herself a nice Irish fella? Settle down,
yeah.
Get cozy.
Why don't you slide into her DMs? She might have to come to Jesus though. Are you ready to start going to church again?
I'm going to church tomorrow morning with Aurora Snow. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
so
cool. You do go to church sometimes. You go to church more than I do. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, but we're gonna do some sinning. Yeah,
you have more. You have more to repent of.
Probably. Yeah, she has her dress picked out. I just hope that she like answers the phone in the morning. Otherwise, I'm gonna be stuck in church on my own. So we'll see.
Do they know at your church that you do porn? Have you ever told them?
The nuns are hilarious. Like the amount of girls that I've brought to this church on a Sunday. Like if I can get them up, okay, because some of these girls stay up late on Saturday night. So getting them to church, hair and makeup by 10 a.m. on a Sunday can be tricky. But when I have executed it, because there's a Irish priest in the church that I go to in Beverly Hills that does the 10 a.m. mass. And so, it's hilarious because I get there at around 30 so I can say hello to the priest from Ireland and so that I can say hello to the nuns. Yeah,
And
no,
they
it's
see you
hilarious, man.
bringing in a different, like, overdressed or underdressed, right?
Yeah, what do these ladies usually wear to church?
Ah, dude,
They
dude,
dress, they dress up a lot,
dude.
don't
I've had some crackers. I've had some Sundays. Let me tell you at that church, like, because no, the girls like if they get up in the morning and they're going to knowing that they're going to church, they're gonna put on something nice, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been really, really grateful. All right, you know what I mean. And the priest and the nuns, they love me. So yeah, I love it. It's great crack.
When you say nice, do you mean like church appropriate or no? Just like slutty nice?
You're gonna ask an Irish guy to pass comment on fashion. I'm wearing a Tommy Bahama. My
No,
height of
the
high
ladies.
end is Chanel and Cartier, and like I wear Tommy Bahama. Okay, Tommy Bahama to me is the business, and Ralph Lauren.
ladies. What are the ladies?
No,
wearing?
yeah, what the ladies are wearing. Like, are they wearing something nice but it's slutty, or is it nice but like church appropriate?
These girls are models, okay? They can make brown paper bags look good, all right? They can make a plastic bag look like high-end fashion, all right?
Are they wearing a plastic bag? What are they wearing? That's all she's asking.
Yeah, that's what
they're wearing nice clothes, you know? Lovely church
night. Okay, not club night.
Hey, look, I tell you, I'll put it to you like this: church appropriate, but still with ease of access and good advertisement.
Okay.
You know? Okay. Have you ever seen? All right, put it like this: you ever see? This is how I can quite. Since you're pushing so hard for an answer on this, all right, I'll put it like this: you ever watch Fox News?
Yeah, well, not really, but I know what they look like. I'm like, I don't watch it, but I know what they look like. Yeah, they look hot.
Don't you be lying? Don't you? That you backed up on that one really quick, Amy. Oh yeah, I do. No, I don't watch Fox News that much. You know, I'm aware of the girls' existence. I've seen what they look like. But yeah, I'd equate them to like. I feel like, okay, you want to know what I feel like rocking up to church with these girls? I feel like Donald Trump, Elvis Presley. I feel like a Texan American. I'm in a casino wearing cowboy boots, motherfuckers. All right, yeah. They're like the Fox News girls. They got the girls out. They got the legs out. They're wearing nice pencil skirt. You can't go wrong in. You know what I mean?
Right,
Bit of a 3-inch heel. Oh God, maybe you have the girls out getting the sun on them. Hair done up, a little bit of Lana Del Rey. Maybe you're feeling real bold. Maybe you got up at 6 a.m. and you had time to do a full face and you did a little flick on the eyebrows or the eyelashes. You never know. Whatever. Bit of contour never hurt anybody. God bless America. Hey, Big Daddy's about production, okay? So if you're going to the church and you're going to be shooting some content, you're going to be camera ready and you're going to be appropriate. Yeah. That's what it is.
Okay.
A little contouring never hurt anyone. I think that's the slogan to live by. Missy Jade. Missy's great. She supports me a lot with and with comments as well as money, but I appreciate it. She says, "Hey, favorites on the YouTube streets. You're doing great work, and I wanted to pop in and share some gratitude." And as Isaac says, "You can do it. Put your back into it." That's a good song.
Yeah, big fan of your work, Missy Jade. God bless you. Thank you kindly.
So, I like the 90s music reference there because I don't know, because I miss 90s music, I guess. That was the last time.
I miss 90s cocaine and 90s war movements. Okay, what's going on? We're back into the 90s movement with Russia again. Okay, sorry, I just took it political. But yeah, the 90s. What we wish we had it as good as the 90s. The Twin Towers were still standing and they were just being taken hostage. They hadn't been blown up yet.
I have a question here for both of you since I have you both here. We've got some little time left. So what would you say about, would you say that growing up that you were in an environment that was more sexually conservative or sexually liberal in terms of like the values that your parents raised you with and attitudes towards sexuality and stuff like that? Jenna, what would you say?
I'm definitely more conservative. Yeah, my parents were really awkward. They had definitely a dead bedroom.
They had a dead bedroom? Is that what you said? Did you know that? Did they tell you, or you kind of sensed it?
Oh no, I just sensed it. Like, because they should have gotten a divorce, but they didn't get divorced, if that makes sense. So,
and they were conservative about, were they conservative about sex? Were they like Christian? Really Christian?
Technically, but not really. Like, we never went to church unless it was like Easter, right? No.
Oh, you kind of got muffled there for a second.
Oh, I said we didn't go to church unless it was Easter.
Okay. What about you, Celtic? You tell me a little bit about your family, but they were kind of conservative. Was your mom kind of conservative about sex?
Don't be talking dirty in the house like that. All right, for Christ Almighty. All right, there's children around. For Christ's sakes, keep your mind out of the gutter, you filthy animal. For Christ. No, my mother was a lovely Protestant from Northern Ireland. She was a very gentle woman, very gentle woman. Yeah, and then my father. Yeah, I don't know, man.
He was kind of a ladies' man. I mean, he had a way.
Oh
with
no. My own man was a playboy, and I mean, like he was unbelievable. But he had the whole thing of like all his friends were jealous of him because he was just naturally handsome and naturally athletic, and then he had like he was a bit of a charmer. So yeah, I mean that was what I, was around looked up to as a child, was like, this Harrison Ford, Marlon Brando-esque, action man character. And then my mother was like a very, I guess, like you'd look at her here in America as conservative. Like she had a degree from Trinity College, and that was a big thing that she, would mention regularly. And so I was always ingrained around like women's strength, women's liberation, and women's independence. But like sexually, there was a lot of repression because of like there was the Protestant side of my mother, and then there was the Catholic side of my father's family. But thank Christ, my old man set a great example, and he was a floundering womanizer, or a flagrant womanizer. There you go. God bless. History repeats itself.
And they do have some idea of of the fact that you do porn, right?
Oh yeah, no, everybody knows. Yeah, everybody knows.
Yeah. And they've gotten cool with it. They've gotten cool with it. Yeah.
I mean, as cool as they can be, baby. As cool as they can be. I mean, as cool as they can be, baby. Like some of my relatives of mine are like on the board of a women's hospital and stuff, and it's like I'm a massive embarrassment to them. And then one of my relatives is like internationally on a board of Pakistan, like has to do with like the legalities of the health administration in Pakistan, and like I'm just a massive embarrassment. So but that's okay. Fuck them. They're not having fun. I'm out here rocking around in Beverly Hills on a weekly basis. You know what I mean? Slinging dick up and down these canyons like a good immigrant that I am, okay? I'm fornicating for my freedom on a daily basis, okay? I'm here trying to be somebody, all right? I'm not out there just, working for the Rothschilds like they are, conforming. No, I'm an artist, I'm a rebel with a cause. I'm a dreamer, man. I'm just chasing down the dreams.
Mm-hmm. And platitudes as well.
Well,
So, Jenna, do you have any questions for Celtic? I mean, I don't know. Do you know have you ever known anyone in the porn industry?
Yeah, actually.
Who hurt you? That's I think that'd be hilarious. What happened to you? What did this? No. Who hurt you?
No. Yeah. I actually have a friend that's in the porn industry. I'm actually going to hang out with him next week, but he is also starting his own porn production company. It's kind of been on its way already. He's done it for like a year and a half. I forgot what it's called. But
good for him.
Yeah. And he was in porn for a while when he was younger in New York. And he was I don't know what the term is, Celtic, but the guy when like the main talent is like tired and his dick is, needs a rest. And then they put the new guy in and they just show like the shot where they're like having sex. You don't see their face.
I wouldn't know much about that.
Like a body double.
Yeah, I believe that would be a filler. A filler. Yeah. A stunt cock.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what he did mostly. But
rock and roll. Well, touche. I hope that he brings you many rounds of pleasure.
Do you ever have a situation on set, Celtic, where I don't know about this. We're like
where the girls climax too much? Yes, regularly.
Not yeah. I was actually going to say the opposite, where like you have someone who gets on set and they're totally like not in the right headspace? And does anybody ever just get like freaked out or whacked out, or like or is everybody usually pretty professional? Do you have like crazy stuff happen on set? People just temperamental, losing it, whatever?
Hey, yo. Like I said, I'd come on the stream and all that, but you're asking me like some pretty fucked up questions right here, bro. What are you trying to do? You're trying to get me canceled in my own fucking industry? Are you crazy? These people are out of their fucking mind, bro. Okay, they have far too much cash and no idea of accountability. Okay, all they have is accessibility to all different levels of economy and life. Okay, you're fucking asking me what kind of crazy shit happens on set? I can't be talking that kind of shit on fucking camera. Are you out of your mind? Fuck, dude. I'm trying to pay my fucking mortgage here, bro. Jesus, chill, bro, chill. Change it up. What else you got?
Yeah, but seriously, anyway, back to my question.
but seriously, okay, look, 2 out of 10 are going to be bipolar, okay? 2 out of 10 are going to be schizophrenic. 2 out of 10, I mean, like, pretty much like 50% are chill as fuck. And then like the other 50%, yo, bro, it's a fucking crap game out there. But all you can do is... yeah, I'm just, look here, everybody exists on different planes of vibrations in this life, and I'm eternally grateful for where I am, okay, and the talent that I get to work with, okay. I am very, very grateful for the, whatever the numbers are, okay, because there was two.
Surprised. I'm sorry, I was going to say, I'm actually generally surprised, like, when you talk about it, like, it sounds like it's actually, everything generally runs smoothly, and it's actually very professional. Like the horror stories are pretty kind of few and far between. I don't know if those people get weeded out, they just don't last. But you actually, I mean, yeah, you have crazy people and stuff, I know, but like but it seems like you rarely will tell me about a shoot where something was just like off the chain, or someone was not just totally not cooperating or whatever, right?
Well, I didn't like the way you used the word cooperated there for a second, but anyway, here's a great cooperated. Like, hey, what is it? Cooperated. It's called consent. Okay, we have a little chant, and we always say consent. The thing is, and then yeah, it's funny. But
really?
Look, Colonel. The thing is, you and I talk about every scene that I've had. Okay, since I got back in 2021, right? And so what you just said there is very accurate in that I've told you maybe 3 times in the whatever amount of 100 scenes I've done since I've been back, say 250 I've done since I've been back in. Yeah, there'd be 3 scenes. I don't know what the numbers are on that, but that's less than 1% of scenes where there's been something to be like, yeah, bro, you wouldn't believe what fucking happened today. Right. Other than that, it's just fucking business as usual. Exactly.
Right, so, yeah. Right. What about, and Jenna, when you're, that's a good question too for you. Like when.
Yes, Jenna, that's your name?
That's what I'm going
by, yeah.
Okay, so Jenna, yes. So how many of your days have you experienced where you've been reminded of a Quentin Tarantino film, like Pulp Fiction or something? Like how many days in your career have you maybe had to like dust your prints off a scene and just back your way out of a room and, you know, thank Jesus you made it home okay?
I mean, I've had some pretty horrible bosses, but thankfully I haven't had to kill them yet. So
I like the empowerment. Love it. Rock and roll.
You have people when you're doing like the BDSM stuff though, after hours, I'm sure in some of these scenes, so you said occasionally get out of hand, but it's not, is it a normal thing, or generally people behave themselves? I mean,
generally people behave themselves, because if they don't, like, they get kicked out.
They want to come back. So
yeah, they would. Yeah.
Security.
They call the dungeon monitor.
Person is bothering. Yeah, there you go. Security.
I was wondering, Celtic, I know in one of your episodes you talked about how you, I think, worked at a place where they did do dungeon parties occasionally. What was that like?
Yeah. I mean, the first couple of times that I worked at this place, man, I could just feel my mother at home, like fucking pacing around, just fucking rosary beads in her hand. Oh, my child. But yeah, it was wild, man. Some of the most, because like I was still rather great. Sure, like I've been getting laid since a very young age, so like sex is one thing, but like the level of like creativity and the production that goes into the makeup, the fashion, the boots, and then like the dancing, I had never seen such exotic just creatures before in my life. It was this place called Bordner's on Cherokee in Hollywood, and the night it's called, I would believe it was Bar Sinister or Sinister. And then a few years after that, I DJ'd well, let me get this right. At an underground after hours BDSM warehouse party.
Ooh,
and it would start at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night and go till 2 p.m. on Sunday. So we'd load up a car and we'd drive like downtown. And it was like, for me being an immigrant, it was so romantic. You know, it was like a film. You're driving down the 101, you're seeing all of downtown Los Angeles, all the beautiful lights lit up. And it was like 10 or 15 minutes, just that bit too far, but you'd get there, man, and it'd have the sprinkler system set up in this old butcher house with all this Hollywood blood. And once every 30 minutes, they'd like do this thing like out of the film Blade where they'd sprinkle blood and it would be like crazy strobe light going off. But there was this massive like area for people getting racked up. It was a 6,000 square foot warehouse, slaughterhouse originally. And so there's like all this like roped off area, people getting racked. I have photos and stuff. I could probably find them tomorrow.
They had
if you're
this sex party at a slaughterhouse? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
They're going
Yeah. But I mean, but it was wild. But yeah, I used to go there after I'd finished my work on a Saturday night in Hollywood with, you know, girls, and it would be a lot of fun. And then go back and you'd get, you know, just like a Quentin Tarantino film or any kind of film or any just normal day in life for everybody. We'd go back and we'd have breakfast at the 101 Cafe or Kitchen 24, and then go back and have a threesome or, you know, whatever amount of chicks were there, man. I'd get myself a black coffee and I'd know it's time to saddle up and giddy on up, cowboy, because these girls are hot to trot. Hot to trot. The sun's coming up soon, kid. Better get the laps in. Right. But yeah, no, I like the BDSM scene, and I really like that. Like people where I come from, people would judge it a lot. But I loved all the like safety protocols and like all the like lists. And
we were
like
talking about that. It's very bureaucratic.
Very bureaucratic. Very bureaucratic. Like you'd be like I'd like, it's hilarious. Like I love America for that. For it's that like at the end of the day, people can completely be Nazi fascists and then claim to be liberal socialists. You know, it's wild. Like people can do whatever they want and they can say whatever they want while completely being hypocritical and contradicting themselves in their very own actions, and not, you know. So people like can just do whatever they want and be the truest expression of themselves. If a guy wants to identify as, you know, a furry or something like that, that's completely acceptable in society.
And there's furries earlier.
I mean, you did, yeah. Like I love that. I love that. Get it into you. Like, yeah, you want to wear a mask? Yeah, babe, put the mask on. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Jenna, you were telling me about a friend or an acquaintance of yours or someone. Correct me if I'm wrong. Who has someone that they will spend hours a day cleaning their house or something? That's like an expression of their sexuality. I'm like, well, I need to find somebody who just wants to clean my house and not do anything
I want that.
else. Can you find someone in your community? It can be male or female, but someone who will have all of their sexual needs met just by keeping my house clean, because that would be a great arrangement.
They usually identify as like service.
That's what I need. I need service people.
Yo, me too. Los Angeles in the Los Feliz area. All right, I like some pay pigs. I'll go for some servants. All right, I need the laundry done, dishes done.
You hijacked, though. I'm trying to figure out how to find these service people. Just a second.
For you. But let's find it for me first. Okay, you're in Texas. All right, you're in Texas. There's loads of tech people and comedians there that have no jobs now. Okay, in Texas, you can get any one of them to fucking be your slaves.
Let's say that I'm living in the middle of nowhere in Texas, in a rural kind of town, and that I want to find one of these service people who get off on keeping my house clean. How do I go about it?
I mean, usually it's more than just that. Like usually they do.
What else do I have to do to get my house clean?
No. Fuck that. What else do they do? All right.
I mean,
for Christ.
Yeah, I mean they get off on the idea of like helping people out, like that particular person. Like
that's what I need is help. Them. That's right.
And it could be various things. It could be
things?
Like boot blacking, like polishing shoes. Some people are into that. Some people are into the cleaning, like they want to clean your toilets or just cleaning in general. But But usually they also have other aspects to it too. Like the people that I have known, like they live with their partner and they still have like a partner dynamic with them. It's not like truly like they're just the servant.
So this partner that they're living with,
do these people have pools? Do these people have pools with views? Okay.
No, this guy, I mean, he has a nice house, but it does not have a pool.
Oh man.
No. You're missing the point. How do we find the people with pools and with views that also like the cleaning and the cooking?
Oh,
so you want a wealthy person to also clean.
But she just said you have to live with them, right? They're like, they'll clean up and they'll do all that crap,
like,
but then they want you to live with them.
Oh, that's right.
Hang on. Do you have to listen to them?
No, not usually, because they want to listen to you.
Oh no! Wait! They want to be abused a little bit. You shut the fuck up and get back in there and get to the cleaning. There you go. Yeah. You cook the dinner.
That's apparently what Marilyn Manson did to women.
This is what modern feminism has come to. It's going full circle. It's going all the way back around now. They're choosing to be shouted at and told to get back in the kitchen. There you go.
It's sexy now. It's only sexy when it's optional. You have to do it.
It's retro.
Sexy. That's right. No, but so basically that's what Evan Rachel Wood is accusing Manson of doing, is making her a service person, because she had to cook his dinner, remember? So she was doing service kink. Well, I am going to get on that sometime in the next week. I'm going to try to figure out how to get one of these service people in my house, because we need that.
Hang on. Just back it up. Still on the service thing. Do we not have a word for this, and it's kind of already been abolished? We have to be very careful here. All right.
Well, you're the only one who's going there. That didn't even occur to me. So.
Well, no, wait a minute. We're talking about. Hang on. My people were slaves. Okay, so that's why I'm a little more sensitive about it. Yeah. I mean, like, hey, the Irish were enslaved by the British for 800 years. All right, the Israelites were enslaved by the goddamn Parisians. Those fucking Muslim cunts. But
they weren't getting off on. They weren't getting off on. See, there we had like 2 minutes to go, and you just torpedoed my channel with that last comment. I swear to God, you can't help yourself. You have a strong self-destructive instinct, and just in the nick of time, I thought, I was literally thinking, we've made it through here without anything really bad. No, but seriously though,
everybody's been slaves. And I'm just saying, like, this whole service person thing. I just I don't like the direction it's going with the whole like slavery thing. All right, like these people, they have to be respected. These are human beings too, So even if you're going to go hunting, and I don't like the use of the word hunting here, but that was what you said. You're going to go hunting for these, people to pay to clean up after you. I just have questions here.
Yeah, well, I'm hunting for someone who will get off on it. I'm pretty sure that no historical slaves have gotten off on their slavery. Maybe a few, though. We could really get controversial there. But on that note, we are.
Oh, you did that. You did that. That's hilarious. You did that. I know which president you're talking about.
What? All right.
You're talking about George Washington because he had lots of children with his slaves.
Jefferson, but you are.
That was Jefferson, yeah, not Washington.
Oh man,
get your president right, Celtic.
It is really weird. I'll end on this note since we're completely here. It is really weird that we have a president in our history that just everybody knows had illegitimate slave children. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But he also wrote the.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that we currently have a president that everybody knows his son smoked crack with underage hookers in New York and LA. All right, for Christ almighty. Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh, we should do a live stream sometime where we should just call it the Chronicles of Hunter Biden, and we'll just look at some of the funniest things to have been leaked from the Hunter Biden laptop. That'd be fun.
I was looking at the Inquirer today. You see some of these American magazines. I was thinking that's what I'm going to do on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is just cover the front of the magazines and the various stories of like, look at this bit of scandal here. It's wild. Like the Harry and Meghan is just, they're not going away anywhere. They're constantly talking about this Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber nonsense. Your own Gwyneth Paltrow's getting the flamethrower taken to her. Robin Williams thankfully got the cover of a magazine. I like that. He's funny. But yeah, man, it's all the same juicy gossip the whole time.
I still have no clue what's going on with Hailey Bieber and who else? Baldwin or what? No, Haley Baldwin and
Uh,
Selena Gomez. Are they fighting over Justin Bieber still?
the
He's still
tea
crying.
is so
Still
juicy. The
crying.
tea is so juicy.
All right. Well,
Oh,
I'm
it's a
tired.
juicy.
I'm tired, and we've been on for 2 hours, or I've been on for 2 hours, so I'm shutting it down. But Celtic, what do you want to leave us with? What do you want to say to the audience before we go?
I hope everyone is feeling great, and I hope that you're eating well, living well, and loving well. If you like me here, you love me on OnlyFans, live in the morning times, doing the yoga, warming up the body. So subscribe there and join along. I listen to mostly Daft Punk or speed metal. So have a wonderful start to your weekend, and thanks for tuning in. Colonel Kurtz is a great friend of mine, and I love her very much. And then this girl who's got this red dot thing, she seems to be quite nice.
Jenna.
Are you based in Los Angeles, young lady, or where are you based?
I'm not too far away from Los Angeles. It's just
All right. Well, maybe she'll come and tie me up with her whips and chains, and we'll listen to that Rihanna song together, and we'll give you a little demonstration of some BDSM.
I did see your Valentine's Day video.
Oh, did you like that? Did you?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
It was
she
good.
watched
I
your
can
submission
see.
to
I
that
can see why your talents. Got award-winning talent there.
God bless you, sweetheart. God bless your cotton socks and your kind heart. All right. So yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in and watching. And to be continued. Keep rocking what you got.
Yeah, and his information is below in the link tree. And then Jenna, hopefully at some point, maybe you'll feel inspired to start a YouTube channel. We'll let the viewers know. But you have any final words for us?
Yeah. I had fun talking about sex. Always a great topic. I'd love to come on more and talk more about it.
Hey,
All
right.
right.
Let's broker a deal just quickly. One last thing, Jenna. How about this? Since you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, why don't you come over next week? You can take over this seat here on my bed, right? And we'll get a microphone each. If you don't want your face to be shown, we can just put a balaclava on you. You get a nice cushion right there. I'll be here, and we'll just be talking like that with a microphone. And you have a pink balaclava or a blue one, whatever color balaclava you like, just a ski mask. And we're having more of a chat about sex, and you can show us some of the toys that you like taking out on the various adults that you encounter in your profession. How's that?
You can think that over. It's quite an offer.
Yeah.
There you go. It is quite an offer. Happy Saturday, everyone. God bless.
All right. Bye, everybody. Okay. Thank you so much. We will see you all later. Thanks for those who have joined us. And yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.